welcome especially to our wonderful guests who are here today to share with us some of the opportunities for funding, really unprecedented funding available to folks here in the 15th Congressional District and more broadly throughout EPA Region 2 through the Inflation Reduction Act. Thank you so much to Congressmember Ritchie Torres for bringing us all together today for this incredibly important conversation. It really is through his visionary leadership that we are here embracing our role as the epicenter of environmental justice in New York, right here in the Bronx. It has been, these last few years, the relationship has really guided us and so many of the friends that I see here today to take on these new opportunities and to make sure that we are taking advantage of all of the funding and all of the different kinds of programs that are coming through this incredibly impactful legislation. And without further ado, let me introduce Congressmember Ritchie Torres.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
First, I want to thank our host, Fordham University, the EPA, the New York State League of Conservation Voters for your partnership in ensuring a successful and equitable implementation of the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA. As many of you know, the IRA is the boldest piece of climate legislation ever conceived anywhere in the world in history. It is going to set the United States on a trajectory to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030. But the IRA is revolutionary not only because of the particular policies it pursues, but also because how it made those policies. Right? It is the first law in history that is specifically designed to proactively prioritize the lowest income communities, the communities that need the funding the most and that have been most affected by catastrophic climate change. At the heart of the IRA is Justice 40, which ensures that 40% of select federal programs, 40% of the funding, go to the communities in greatest need. Right? We're accustomed to laws that here in the Bronx that specifically exclude places like the Bronx. Here you have a law that intentionally includes places like the Bronx. The fact that Fordham University, an institution based here in the Bronx, was chosen to distribute $50 million in funding throughout all of Region 2, that is not an accident. That is a testament to the design, to the intentionality of the Inflation Reduction Act. So the most important point I can make is that the IRA is going to benefit the Bronx not by accident, but by design. And I hope that the design of the IRA is going to be a model for legislation in the future. The application for the $50 million is going to open on September 24th. And so you have an 11-day head start. And since Fordham University is in the Bronx, as Bronx-based institutions, we rightly have home field advantage, and it's about time. And my motto is, the Bronx is no longer burning, the Bronx is green. Thank you.
This is a really exciting opportunity for EPA to meet with so many members of the community organizations here in the Bronx, which is an integral part of EPA Region 2, which covers New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and 8 federally recognized Indian nations. I'm Alyssa Arkai. I'm the Deputy Regional Administrator at EPA Region 2, and our Regional Administrator, Lisa Garcia, would have really liked to be here today. She's in the Hudson Valley presenting a grant award for the Climate Pollution Reduction Grants, which is another part of the IRA. And we'll be celebrating a project focused on fugitive methane emissions, which is a really exciting project for our climate. So before I start, first of all, just really wanted to thank Congressman Ritchie Torres for inviting us here today, convening us all, and for helping us get the IRA passed into law. It's an incredible achievement, and Inflation Reduction Act. This is a climate change and environmental justice law, and it is brought so many resources to EPA Region 2 that we're really excited to get out to communities, and just an incredible accomplishment. So thank you for bringing us here today. Thank you for Fordham for hosting us, this lovely space and this lovely event, and for your partnership and for the Thriving Communities Grantmakers Program. And I know you're going to talk all about that, Julie, and it's such an amazing opportunity that we're bringing here to the Bronx.
You know, the Inflation Reduction Act, as the Congressman said, is really a historic and landmark piece of legislation. It really is marking a turning point in our nation's commitment to a healthier and greener future. The Clean Energy Plan that's in the IRA works by incentivizing people, nonprofits, governments, and businesses to make greener choices. Because we know people like to follow the money. This is really where the federal government, they couldn't quite get some of the sticks out there. They got an awful lot of carrots as part of the Inflation Reduction Act. As Victor mentioned, like we've been doing these events with members of Congress across the state. We really want to make sure that people and organizations are aware of all the funding that is out there. Because if there's nothing that New York likes more to do than pull down free money from the federal government. So I'm looking forward to this discussion, and we've already heard a lot. Which way am I? All right. So we know that this investment is the largest investment that any country in the entire world has ever made in climate change. Full stop. $369 billion, and it's probably actually going to be higher than that because of the way some of the programs work, was made available in the IRA. And it covers a whole slew of types of projects. It includes fundings to help us get clean energy, for buildings to decarbonize, for transportation, to improve the way we're doing farming and agriculture, to invest in public lands and clean water, to get clean manufacturing going. We're seeing a manufacturing resurgence in our country, in our state, and that's something that we want to take advantage of. And as we've talked about already with the EPA, really I'm making sure that we're investing in healthy communities. So some of these programs that are out there are really for the business community, right? So there's a 10-year extension of the 30% tax incentive to get clean energy. That is funding that is helping us get our offshore wind programs going. Many of you may know or may not know, we now have the nation's first commercial scale offshore wind operating in our country, providing power to our state. It's called South Fork Wind, and there's another project that's in construction called Sunrise Wind that's going to be able to power 600,000 homes with clean energy. So it is a big change. Right now, downstate, 90% of the power that we get, Long Island, New York City, Lower Hudson Valley, comes from fossil fuels. So this is like a real change-making incentive that we need to happen. And there's new programs available that allow nonprofits and governments to get funding, because before they've been tax credits, but now there's something called direct pay that would enable, say, a church to put solar panels on its roof. So this is a new program and a continuation of a program that's really critical to make that happen.
That I know many folks in here have seen this presentation or are familiar with some of this information, and I think that's actually a really good thing. And it's not just because you've seen the presentation, it's because you actually worked with us from the very beginning to put together the strategy and to put together the application we submitted, to put together that participatory governance structure that is really the backbone of this grant-making opportunity. So there are so many folks here who have worked with us for now almost 2 years on this project, from the very beginning, conceiving it. And one of those key collaborators has been the Congress member. It was in December 2022 that the Congress member and I were visiting Elena over at the Mary Mitchell Center and talking about the Inflation Reduction Act and the opportunities coming through and the imperative to share resources and to ensure resources here in the Bronx. And talking about the role also of larger institutions of higher education like Fordham in this work. And it was really through his guidance and charge to say, what can Fordham do? We are right here in the center of the Bronx. We're right here in the center of Region 2. We're deepening. Part of the reason that Surya and I and our amazing team was brought on board 5 years ago here is to really deepen the commitment of the university to community engagement, and to use the infrastructure of the institution, right? We're this big, sprawling institution. We have a finance department. We have a compliance department. Yes, we do those things for teaching and learning and research, but we're also an institution that is of the Bronx, that is of New York City, and that is in community and in partnership, and that intends to and really must use its resources to support the community initiatives that are being led by everybody in this room. And so that's really where the idea for us to go out for this grant-making opportunity came from. And I first just want to thank all of the collaborators in this room. I'm Julie Gaffney, an Associate Vice President here at Fordham University, and today we're gathered with Congressmember Ritchie Torres and members of the environmental justice community here in the Bronx to talk about funding opportunities available to communities throughout the Bronx and New York City. We have a grant-making program running out of Fordham for the next 3 years that is offering $40 million in grant funding for community organizations that are doing all different kinds of work, from building community centers to education, pipelines, job training programs, planting, conservation, access to green spaces, improving public health issues like asthma that we know are so pressing in our borough. So we're so excited to open applications for this funding this month and to partner with the amazing organizations here in the Bronx and throughout Region 2 to make sure this funding makes an impact.